Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing episode 2 of the series. We have the big one, which is listeners. So there's two parts, I would say, main parts to coding commands, and that's listeners and commands. And we've already done the commands part, well, the basis of the commands part. It's time to get into the listeners. Now listeners are kind of different. Allow me to show you. So what we're going to do first is, obviously we're going to create a new project. Next, go through Spigot testing listeners. We're gonna go hit finish, and it's gonna generate ourselves. Okay, so you see here we have everything that we normally would have. What we're gonna do the three famous things. Create your package name. We're just gonna do STL for Spigot testing listeners. Oh, actually, we're just gonna do it like that. Sorry about that. So then go inside this right here, class. We're gonna call it main, and we're gonna do the things that we always do. Now, I will probably we didn't want. Don't generate that. I will probably just let you guys pause the video or skip ahead. I think I'll put a timestamp on the description to when I finish. But for now, we'll just go over it if you're still unclear. So first thing, extend Java plugin. So the three things you will always have to do. Oh, I am silly. You can't extend Java plugin without actually putting the library in it. So we have to add the Spigot library. If you don't know how to download Spigot, go to my last video. Put a card up on the screen for that. Super simple. But what we want to do after you have Spigot downloaded, go to configure build path, libraries, add external jars, scroll down till you see this Spigot 1.15 jar, apply and close. And now we can import Java plugin. There we go. So we do two things. Override like that. Public void on enable like that, and then brackets around them. This is gonna show red because I did it wrong. Don't listen to me. And then at override. That's not how you spell it. Public void on disable. Like so. So we have a few things. I don't think we all should be using this, so no use right there. You can delete it if you want. I don't delete it because, I don't know, good practice. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of forget about that for now. I'm going to quickly make a new class here. We're going to call it listeners. So what we're going to do is, like the commands, we're going to implement something. But what we're going to implement is the listener package. So everything that comes with the listener, we're going to go ahead and add that into it. So we're going to implement the listeners, and then import listener from org.bucket. Okay, don't import it from anywhere else. Import it from org.bucket. If you need to, go ahead and just type this in. You can do like import blah 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 blah. I'm not going to do it because, you know, I can just do it my way. Anyway, pretty much listeners are fired every single tick. So as you know, Minecraft server runs on ticks. A tick happens in every second. 20 ticks happen. So you can do the math there. I actually do not know the math off the top of my head, but you know, you get what I mean. It's like around 20 milliseconds or something like that. Maybe even less. Maybe I think it's 10 milliseconds. Anyways, so every 10 milliseconds, this event is going to fire, and the listener does exactly what you think. It listens. So every 20 seconds, it will listen forever, okay, for this specific thing to happen. And that thing that is going to happen is called an event, right? So it will listen for an event. There are events like fishing. So like it will fire every time you fish, every time you place a block, every time you break a block. There's all these different events. There's a block break event, you know, eating event, armor equip event, all these. And every time you do that, aka armor equip, it will fire your code that you write inside the listener. So if I can explain this better, what we're going to do is we're going to do at event listener at the top. So do at event listener. Gotta do it like this. Public void on, and then you can name this whatever you want. I like to do it, you know, on what normally happens. So we're just gonna do on block break, like that. It doesn't matter what you name it. However, it's really just does not matter what you name it. Did I do this wrong? listener. So, out of event listener, and okay, we're gonna figure out that later. So inside of here, we're gonna put our event. So this event is an event determined by the name. So the event we're gonna be using is block break event. So this will fire. This code we run in here will fire every single time we break a block. So every time a block is broken, the code inside here will fire. So we're going to do block break event, and we just have to give it a name. So we're going to call the event E. Okay. So we have to import block break event here. And oh, and by the way, it's event handler. There we go. And then import event handler. Sorry about that, guys. So every time a block is broken, the server will trigger this code. So if I were to just say, let's say like send message or something, it will send that message. It can broadcast a message. It can do whatever you want. But today we're going to specialize in spawning a block of TNT, or spawning any entity for that matter. Because spawning TNT falls under the entity class, and you can spawn entities whenever you want. So what's going to happen is we are going to write the code for this. So we're going to make our first variable and check. For now, we're going to make a player variable. And this is going to equal the cast of a player, and then e.get player. We actually do not need to cast this to player because we're getting a player, not getting an entity, so we don't need to differentiate between the two. So inside of here, every time we run this method, we will get this player variable, but that's all we have so far. So we need to do something with that player variable. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to get a lot of things here. So we're going to do player. So it's going to get the player's location. Or why don't we get the world? So we're going to get the world that the player is in. Okay, and this is how you spawn an entity, because you can only spawn entities in a world. So you want to get the world that the player is in. And you want to spawn an entity. So as you can see, you need a location and an entity type inside of here. So the location is just going to be e.getBlock. So get the block broken. And then gotta get the location of that block. So every time I break a block, it will take that location of the block and run the rest of this code here. So the next thing I want to do is just specify the entity. So we can do entity type dot TNT, prime TNT to be precise. And then go ahead and close that off, and you will see that that will work flawlessly. Okay, that will work exactly how we need it to. Everything will work fine with that, and that will just spawn a TNT every time I break a block. But we can do some more stuff with this. So pretty much what we want to do here, we're fine with this right now, right? Every time I break a block, TNT spawns. Pretty simple stuff. However, we can take that a step further by, shall we say, there's something, when you take an entity, you can add certain modifiers to it. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. So you can modify the entity that you are summoning or spawning. And I will show you what I mean in a second. So for the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do prime TNT like this. I think it's probably like this. Prime TNT equals that. And then we're going to import, what is it? Okay, sorry about that, guys. It's actually TNT primed. So TNT primed like that, and that should give us the import TNT prime. There we go. And it's going to give us this red underline. You know why? Because we, in this specific method, it has a return type of an entity, but it doesn't know which entity that is. Obviously, we've specified it here, but the code can't detect that we have specified the TNT entity here. So all it knows is there's an entity here. But we are trying to take that entity and say it's a TNT prime. So the code's telling us, wait a minute, you've told me this is a TNT prime, but it's actually an entity. I need more specific. So what type of entity it is. So all we have to do now is cast it. This is how casting works. It just specifies a type of what the code following is if it's not already specified. So the type here is just TNT primed. Like that. And that will work beautifully. Now, the reason why I did this is because we can take this TNT variable, right, which gets our TNT that we spawn. We could add all these different methods to it. So we can do like add passenger, get bounty box, a bunch of stuff. But we are going to focus on this specific one, which is the set fuse time. Because this can be applied to many things. So we're going to set the fuse, TNT at set fuse ticks. Okay, so there's 20 ticks in a second. So you have to do a little bit of math here. So if you want it to go for 1 second, just do 20. But I'm gonna do 20, or I'm gonna do 30. So it's a little over a second that's going to happen. And then we are just going to go ahead and just leave that like that. So every time I break a lock, we're gonna spawn this TNT, and we're gonna go ahead and set the fuse ticks, and it's gonna spawn like that. So what I'm gonna do next is I will go ahead, get a plugin YML set up in here, and we'll put this on the server. Okay, so one more thing, guys, that I just forgot. You actually have to register this listener, okay? So what you want to do is just do this dot, that's not what you want to do. Go into your, on enable, we're going to register the listener. So this dot get server dot register events, or get plugin manager. Get plugin manager dot registered events, and you know, we have an event, so we're going to put new listeners here, and I think we have to import, oh, it has to be listeners like this. Let's just copy the name because my eyesight is bad. Oh god, that's not what we want. So new listeners, and then we want to put this at the end of it. So that is our listener class. So whatever you name this listener class, put that here, because it needs the class to know when it should be firing these ticks and what code it should be using. And then it needs, like our plugin.yml, it needs this Java plugin relationship. Like it needs to know where this Java plugin is being extended, because it needs to be able to find the code inside of that and execute this listener. So then you do this, because this refers, I'll do a little comment here, this equals the class you are working in. So if you do this, it knows this class, and it needs the class that is extending Java plugin. So now that you've done all that, you are good to go. So I'm going to add a plugin YML to this thing, and I'll show you guys what that looks like right now. Let me just copy this one over because it's quite simple. Drag this right into there, like so. Or actually, let me just copy it instead, because I want to keep that one over there. Copy it, and then paste it right into here. And it can actually stay the same. So author, I'm going to keep this artificial API version, like that. Change this part to meta.art.stl, or whatever your package name is. Version can stay the same, and this can be TNT listener. Like so. And then hello YouTube can be the description. And because we have no commands to register, we can just go ahead and delete that commands box. So I'm going to load this up on the server, and I'll see you guys when I do that. Loading up the server, here's my tip for today. There's going to be a link down in the description. I'm going to put it up right now. It's called the Spigot API. It tells you all the stuff you can use with Spigot and all the methods you can do. Like, there's so much stuff you can do to a player, and all the methods are there. But most importantly for this episode, it shows you all the events you can use. So it shows you all of the things that can be triggered to execute your code. So go to this link. It's somewhere on the screen here. Go to that link. Go look it up. Spend as much time as you want on it. Don't waste your time on it too much, because you know that's what I'm here for. But look up the events, okay? And I promise you, things will be 10 times easier. Okay, back to the video. So your plugin YML should look like this, guys. Don't put a space in between the TNT part. Just thought I'd mention that. Okay, let's hop on the server real quick. Hop on the server, and you will see, again, remember the plugin YML part. Please don't put a space here. You're not allowed to. It doesn't like when you do that. I don't know why. It's Spigot. I can't change it. So please just remember to do that. I'm sorry, guys. I really apologize if I'm messing up with the commentary or anything like that, because, you know, this is the first time I've done this in a while. and I'm just trying to, make this flow well. I'm not really good at like getting all this memorized down and stuff, but I'm working on it. Okay, I am going way too high. Can I fall down, please? Okay, so what we could do? Watch this. Break a block. TNT comes there. Don't mind this template plugin in the background. That just doesn't matter. But just don't listen to that. I can actually. Okay, anyway, so move around, break some blocks. You can see TNT spawns like that. Okay, so we have the TNT done, and whenever you break a block, it will spawn a TNT block, and we know this to be certain, and it'll set it with the amount of fuse ticks like usual. That is exactly 1 second, and it'll blow up. We can set it longer, we can do all that other stuff, but let's say, as you can see, when we place the TNT, right, it spawns in like this middle awkward spot of the block, like the middle of 4 blocks right here. So we don't actually want that, and we can actually change that. So it also spawns inside the block, which we don't want. So let's try to make it spawn on top of the block, like that. Okay, so what we can do, if we go back into the code, it's actually a pretty simple fix. So right here specifies the location that we will be spawning this entity. So all we have to do is get that location and just add, with this method right here, add nothing for the X, and nothing for the Z, because we don't want to change any of those values. We just want to change the height of the block. So just add 1 to the Y, and it'll pop itself up 1 extra block, and then we can go ahead and export this, like so. Like so. There we go. Overwrite that file, and then back in here, all we have to do now is just do confirm, and it will reload our server really fast. And what you will see is that when we break the block, it will spawn above it, like so. As you can see, it spawns above all 3, and it doesn't actually go inside of the block. So you can actually change the height like this for multiple things. Let's say you want it to rain down TNT on you. You can change it to like 8 blocks, and it will come down from 8 blocks on top of you. And allow me to show you this real, like so. And if we RL confirm the server, you should be able to see. Let me reset this. Auto should be able to see that when we break this block, it spawns above our heads and actually perfectly comes down and explodes immediately. The moment we, the moment it falls down, it will explode immediately. So that's all cool and all, but what if, let's say, what if you wanted to do multiple of these? What if you want to have multiple TNT fall on the player's head? Well, it's actually quite simple. So what we're going to start by doing is we're going to do a for loop. Okay? And this for loop is going to have an int I, which equals 0. And then we're going to do this right there, that little bracket. And then we're going to, this loop is going to stay going until I is greater than, let's say, 10. So we have to wait until I is greater than 10. If I is not greater than 10, you're going to do I plus plus throughout the whole entire thing. And then we're going to do a little square bracket at the end, put that down, and then just slide the code inside of that. So pretty much what this is going to do is it is going to run through this super fast, right? And it will do this 10 times, so that means you'll spawn this TNT 10 times and it will, fall down on our head. So let's go see how this works in the code. Okay, so quick mistake there. You want to change this to I is greater than 10, less than 10. Do not use greater, that will mess up the code. So, not run. So just use the greater than symbol to make sure that, we want to do this as long as I is less than 10. So, what we will do is we will export the project again, finish, okay, and we will reload the server, like so. And while we wait for it to reload, we can see that once we're done reloading, 10 TNT will fall on our, oh, that's a lot, fall on our head and destroy us and kill us all. And the TNT will have the properties like this, the same amount of fuse ticks. I can make it instantly. So if we do 1, let's export that, and we could get really, really intriguing with everything here, or maybe that's not the right word, really interesting with stuff. There's a lot of methods you can use, and a lot of cool stuff you can add
to go on elaborate what I have already done previously for you, because I'm obviously not going to code everything for you. I'm just going to code a specific amount of stuff for you just to get you guys set up. So if I do this, it will actually immediately break the TNT the moment I break that block. I don't know if you heard that, but it will break the TNT like the moment I break the block. Well, we don't want that, so maybe we can set the fuse ticks to like 10 or whatever you want to do. But yeah, that's going to be all for today's video, guys. I hope you learned something about Java listeners. I'm probably going to do a part 2 or 3 to listeners in specifics, because there's a lot of stuff you can do with listeners, and then we can continue the whole series on. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.